All right, Mark, let me introduce you to the biggest killer in the US. Are you ready?
Guns.
No, it's not guns. It's actually
damn it.
obesity. Well, close enough. I think it's also on the top ones. Maybe car accidents. But yeah, no, it's actually obesity. 324,000 people a year die from obesity or like
the
all the
US?
causes. Yes, only in the US itself,
Ooh,
which
damn.
is a lot of people, right? 0.1% of the entire US population dies each year from obesity. So, Mike, all right. So obesity is causing actually diabetes. So there's two types of diabetes 1 and 2, and 2 is normally caused by obesity. Now, imagine or guess, give me a number of how many people in the US actually have diabetes type 2.
Right. How many diagnosed cases or how many they actually are, like based on guesses?
Well, give me a diagnosed. That's fine. Actually, both. Give me both. How many we assume there in the US?
All right. I think the average American is overweight and probably going towards obese. Let's say a subsection of that, if that 50% was the initial, so I'm guessing 20% of the US population.
Damn,
wait,
that's
what age
60
group?
million people.
What age group?
No, it's the entire US population.
All right.
I cut to the
10%.
chase. Yes, exactly. It's roughly, well, a little bit more. It's like 37 million people,
Ooh,
or like
damn,
28 are diagnosed, and the rest is undiagnosed, which is a lot of people. And that's now
holy
also
shit.
comes to the product or I want to talk about in this episode. So it's called Generate AI.
10%?
Yeah, well, 10%, right? It's a lot. So, right, Generate AI. What is Generate AI? So January, like the month, AI is basically a tool or like a tool that actually helps you fight if you have diabetes to see what are actually when you have insulin spikes, what kind of food you can eat and what you cannot eat. So basically it can predict by scanning the food that you're eating with a camera, just like you have an app, you scan it, you take a photo, and it will tell you whether it will give you an insulin spike or not. So for example, it can tell you, hey, I can recommend you, if you're going to eat this, you should take a 10 or 15 minutes walk, like immediately after eating, so you don't get that insulin spike. So basically, it can help you in your daily life just by taking an image to basically tell you like how to deal with it, so you don't have to get so many insulin injections, etc.
So I'm guessing it needs to be connected to some kind of hardware, right?
Exactly. So how does it actually work? So a lot of people who have diabetes 2, they have two options. Either, well, they don't really measure it all, or the other one having a CGM, so a constant glucose monitor. It's basically those little dots you can see on an arm. These are the latest ones, which have like a tiny needle, which are like inserted in your arm. No, people normally tend to have it on their arm. And then you can always like monitor like how is the glucose level. And then of course, if you need insulin, it will tell you and can inject yourself. Now, people like there are a lot of people, first of all, who's like way too expensive to use it all the time, as well as like they feel it's uncomfortable. So what actually Generate AI offers is you have to basically use it for 28 days, so the CGM, as well as they doing a complete like food logging. So basically you scan your image, and then the algorithm or the AI, whatever you want to call it, can basically associate the food and the impact it will have on your blood sugar or on your blood sugar levels. Okay. That means now after 28 days, the training session is over, and then they can say, okay, in the future, you don't need to have the CGM anymore, because based on the data that you have on you over the last 28 days, you can just scan the food, and you don't need to wear this anymore.
So okay, but you have to scan the food then.
Yes, exactly. It's all about you still have to scan it. But I think it's super, super smart. And now, why is this relevant? So why is this actually, because like, man, there's so many obese people in the world, and that's why also we come to the biggest killer, obesity. That diabetes 2 is like in a rise. It's like getting bigger and bigger. So finding ways to making life easier for these people is really, really cool. Or it's really, really
actually
important.
Fighting the cause of other. Well, let's put it this way: obesity doesn't kill the people; it's the side effects and other things that come with obesity that kills the people. And basically, you can fight these other, not symptoms, but other illnesses by fighting obesity. Right? That's the point.
Exactly. And then, I mean, just looking at, for example, of course, they can also give you like more and more tips, like what a diet choice, etc. But I think it's very, very cool because it just helps people give a guidance. And that's super, super fascinating. Also, Now let's talk about the money, right? Because it's like, man, this sounds super, super interesting, but how do they actually make money? So you first have like a setup cost of $288, and then you have like a monthly subscription of $28, which is kind of super interesting because like people are logged in. Once they like if they buy it, they subscribe it, they're not going to change to anything else, right? Especially if it makes it so much easier. But I also look at the
I want to talk about this later.
Well, it's not making it easier, but at least let's put it this way. I mean, our grandpa had diabetes, right? And like remember when he like didn't like okay, it's also a long time ago.
It's
but
a long time ago, and they didn't have a CGM. They didn't
have exactly. But then like just imagine you can just like scan it, and then you can just like, all right, perfect. Yeah, this will be the impact because you can predict basically your insulin level of like in the next 2 hours. So it can tell you, hey, this is the prediction.
Fair enough, but the other okay, there's two problems that I have with this thing. First of all, constant glucose monitors are very precise. And what happens if you don't? Like, what happens if you just have a very low blood sugar, right? Because it could happen because you just did exercise or something. So has nothing to do with you just ate something, but there could be other cause for why it's low at that point, right? There's always, and then you need something. So you're running the other time of the year or day, you're running blind. And another thing is because tracking food is a pain in the ass. So
that's why you scan it.
Scanning or taking a picture?
Well, you're taking a picture and then it scans it automatically and then it will tell you what the insulin. You don't have to track by like saying how much it is. You take a picture, it scans it and automatically does it, right? So it says, okay, this is probably this many grams of fruit, and then this will probably be the results of the insulin on your blood
How precise is this? Because I don't know, a burger between McDonald's and Timesburg.
I'm not sure. I'm not a developer of this product, but I think it's very cool concept that it's out there, and I'm sure it will be helpful for a lot of people.
100%. I'm just guessing almost like people are lazy, man, and take pictures of food. Some people do it, but not just like fucking for their blood glucose.
I think it's different if you think from a point of view of if it's a necessity. Man,
fair enough. If you actually need your insulin,
if you ever had like diabetes and like low on sugar, man, and you like get like super like frantic, I think you're like, all right, that might be worth the picture.
Wouldn't that be super cool then if just iOS had it integrated?
Yeah, I think that's one of these things that might happen in the future, right? Because like for example, you can also it's not only that it has a CGM, but it also takes, for example, if you have an Apple Watch, so you're based on your heartbeats as well. So it integrates it as well. So you can basically, based on that, you can also see, okay, low blood pressure or like blood sugar, and also like with low heart.
Well,
like
blood sugar, that's just the CGM, but not
the CGM. But then you can combine it, right? So basically, in the end,
blood pressure, I don't think the watch can do that. I think it's just the BPMs.
But the BPMs good enough, right? So you can like relate this, and then it can give you advice. So I think that's really cool. All right. Anyways,
super interesting.
But the thing is, what I've been seeing, I mean, they raised 42 million, which is interesting, which is a lot of money.
That's a lot.
But also, they existed in 2017. And if you look on Apple, they don't have that many. They have like 142 reviews or ratings. So it's not that many people yet.
And Google Google Play Store?
Yeah. Google Play Store, let's see. They're called January AI, Google Play Store. But my point is, I wonder whether they actually work with insurance companies, right? So they can say, hey, we help people to measure their with diabetes too, to measure their blood sugar.
They don't exist on
they're only on Apple. Interesting. But yeah.
That is super interesting.
All right. Yeah. So summarizing, I think it's very, very cool. Because it's just like for some people, it might not be practical to always wear CGM and a pain in the butt.
I'm sure there's also people that like and like people with skin problems, they get rashes and all that stuff, or maybe some other things that
also it gives you issues. Also like, but you also consider it gives you like advice on nutrition, etc. Right?
No, 100%.
So then it's like because basically it can give you, all right, this stuff you shouldn't be eating, and because the biggest problem of obese people is not that they they know they're obese, but they don't know what the good alternatives are. And then if they have somebody who tells them, hey, it's good for your health, so you're not going to have a fucking sugar rush, as well as like these are the alternatives. So it's like a coach, which I think is super, super helpful. All right, Mark, I think that's my topic.
Alrighty. So I have 2 topics. First of all, I like yours. It's super cool, super interesting. I think it's also become more and more relevant. In general, CGMs, constant glucose monitors, have changed the world for these diabetics, and it's more and more becoming, well, not popular, but it's more likely that you're going to be a diabetic. I think this is fucking cool setup.
By the way, guys, what do you think about it? What do you think about all the CGM or General AI? Please leave a comment and let us know in the comment section. General AI. Sorry, General AI. What do you think about this in general, the concept of it, of not having to wear CGMs? Or let us know in the comments. And we of course can read it and comment
all right. Let's go. Okay, I got one. Actually, I have 2 topics, but I think I want to start with the cooler ones. Have you ever heard of nutco.com, Lucas?
No, what the hell is it?
All right, this is I'm going to call it a food company. So they have products such as nut mayo, nut burger, nut milk, nut ice cream.
I was thinking it's called nut, like
no,
N-U-T. Okay, nut.
N-O-T. It's not mayo.
This guy has a lot of nut.
The negative of C. No, not. Okay, nutco.com.
Yeah.
So they've been around since 2015, if I remember correctly. They have actually raised a couple of big rounds. They just finished their Series D in 2013. Sorry, in 2022, I believe. And they raised 260 million, I think, 290.
Jesus.
At a valuation at 1.5 billion.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah. And so the cool thing is, why I'm bringing this up is that they're using AI to create new foods. Well, new foods, like let's say vegetarian, vegan alternatives to animal food. So for example, they're currently they have this AI that goes through databases that has the composition, texture, taste, and appearance of animal products. Yeah, and then produce a number of plant-based recipes to recreate the same experience. So, and then they use this to actually create a product. Then they test this as a human, and then they give feedback to the AI again. So this way, it took them 10 months first to create the mayo. I think that's one of their first products. And then it took them only 2 months for the nut chicken. And now they have a whole line of kind of products, which is kind of cool. Apparently, they have one now. It's called Nut Turtle. It's the first AI.
Who would?
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Not gonna lie to you.
Turtle meat. Jesus, that is. Well, that's
not
definitely
turtle meat. It's turtle stew, I think, or something. I don't know.
Well, I mean, let's put it this way. It's definitely not a Western thing. Crazy.
So they have anything. So the whole motto of the company is like not something, not milk, not whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that's super interesting because it's a different way to use AI in the real world, not just something else. Because it's, for me, interesting because people have talked about how AI will change how we maybe create vaccines. Well, I'm not talking about digital, but just like how we create vaccines and all that stuff. And this is now something with food, because then you can connect things and it can relate to other ways, and it's super interesting.
For me, it's super fascinating because if you look at it, all with the vaccines and finding new elements, this is so far-fetched for the everyday person.
Yeah.
Like, they can't relate to it. But when you look at, for example, all those recipes, everybody's like, oh yeah, I mean, I just like the texture of a chicken burger, right? Or etc. So they can relate to it because they've tried it, right? Because it's very, very hard to relate to all, like, creating a vaccine, etc. It's like they're just like, hey, I get vaccinated because
exactly. I don't give a fuck what it created. But another thing is also cool, like, think about it. Okay, this was just one company that did this, but this just I just remembered, like, wasn't there a fucking Monster some energy drink that had a drink just a flavor with AI? What was that?
No, Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola had the AI created flavor. Horrible though, at least what I heard.
But it's AI generated. People fucking bought that shit.
Yeah, it's true. This was a limited edition of
and this is just
AI
the beginning,
flavor.
right? If you just do this a little bit more and more and more and iterate on these things, I think it's super fascinating. Because think about it, how many different textures you need to understand and how they work together or
But
not.
my question is, like you said, the texture, right? But are we talking about also the ingredient, well, not ingredients, but the nutritional value? So, for example, for the chicken burger, or is the AI only going for, hey, mouthfeel, texture? Because like that's two different things, right? And that's like very, very important because like most of the time, if you eat, for example, chicken, yes, you eat it for the flavor, but also for the high protein content.
No, they they do both. They also do based on ingredients. Sorry, based on nutritional facts.
Nice.
So there's just a couple of things. Obviously, some of them they will be different, right? You cannot do 1-to-1, but yeah. Because honestly, at the end of the day, that's all that should matter: nutritional facts and the quality of the ingredients.
I try to go on the website, and as like every time I try to click on something, they're like, Norton is blocking it. It's like, are you sure they want to steal your data? I was like, what?
Really? Wait, what site are you on? Notco.com.
Yeah, notco.com. Yeah, and it's like connection is not private. I'm like, hell no, I don't want
sketched
that.
Out.
Yeah, I'm like, no. Chrome itself even said, like, are you sure your browsing
for me,
is
it does
not private?
It's interesting.
But
all right, so coming back, so this is actually a Chilean company. It's fucking amazing. They're a $1.5 billion company. They're raised from Jeff Bezos and some other big boys.
Are they also in the US? Or where can you buy the products?
They're really big. You can buy them in the US.
Can you buy them here in Europe?
I didn't see where to buy. Let's check if you can buy that. No, it's just the US, I think. US and South LATAM.
Where to buy? Here we go.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was one of the topics I wanted to talk about. I thought it was super, super cool as it impacts something that we do on a daily basis, which is eat. And I have another topic, but I think I'd rather talk to that on another day. So guys, ladies and gents, please let us know what you think about this. How is that going to impact your eating behavior? Would you trust something that an AI created and obviously was tested by humans? And also, we're at the end of the episode, so please subscribe, give us a like, leave us a comment. And
if you like it, of course, give us feedback. We want to hear what you guys like. Do you have any topics you want to talk about and that you want us to talk about? We're always happy to jump in and, of course, learn about these new topics as well. And hope to catch you in the next one. Peace.